Welcome back to my channel. My name is Aletha. In this video today, I will be showing you how to make the covered buckle belt. It is a gorgeous accessory to your wardrobe that matches your dresses, your skirts, and you'll find that it's very simple to make. So let's get started. So now for my covered belt, I will be using this belt backing kit by Maxent, as well as the buckles to cover kit. That's what it's called, buckles to cover. And you can purchase these on Amazon or from Mood Fabrics or anywhere online. I found these at Amazon, but be careful because they come in different sizes, like the widths, so you don't want to accidentally buy a backing that's too wide to fit into the buckle. The kit already comes with eyelets, but you are going to need to punch holes in your belt. So for that, you're going to need an awl or a hole puncher and an eyelet tool like this one. Notice that the backing is white, so I will be dyeing my backing in this beautiful red. It's called Racing Red. I love it. And it's by Red. And don't forget your rubber gloves to protect your hands. And of course, you will need to have your fashion fabric and your matching thread. Now, let's get started. The first step is to measure your waist. You need to determine the length of each of your belts. Think about how long you want your tie belt to be, and also think about where you want your sash to fall. Think about the length of your buckle belt. Think about how long you want it to extend on the side of your waist. Once you have all of those measurements, jot them down somewhere so that you'll have them handy. Okay, so first I'm going to take my belt buckle kit. It comes with these 4 pieces. It comes with the cover. It comes with the backing. One is smaller than the other. Take note of that. It also comes with the little hook for your belt buckles. So it has this adhesive backing. That's what you're going to put onto your fabric. So you grab your fabric that you're going to use, and you're going to be using the wrong side. I'm going to cut my fabric down to size. You're also going to need a small plier or a needle nose plier at the end. So I'm going to cut my fabric down to size. You can use a rotary cutter or a pair of scissors. So here I have my fabric. This is the wrong side facing up and the right side facing down. I'm just going to go ahead and take my backing. It has this adhesive to it, and as you can see, it has these little slits. That's important. You're going to need that. All right. Okay, make sure you have your iron ready, because you're going to just go ahead and making sure that your fabric is facing down. You want the wrong side facing up. You want to go ahead and remove paper from your little backing. It has this little paper. Take that, put that to the side. Place your sticky side down. So it's going to be sticky side down because it's going to stick to the fabric. Now, if your fabric was wrinkled, please make sure that you press it. I'm going to go ahead and use my pressing cloth, cover it on top of my fabric so that nothing is damaged, and I'm going to just press. Okay, just go ahead and press that adhesive onto your fabric. Then the next step is to go ahead and trim all the way around. If you were using a fabric that has stripes, make sure that everything is lined up straight. If it's stripes, if it's plaids, you don't want it to be crooked or wonky. All right, so once you're finished, this is what you're left with. But notice that we have some work to do on the inside. So we're going to remove that middle section, okay? So it's going to look like that. Remove the middle section. Then take a pair of small scissors or your scissors and just cut into that section. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut there's some sections. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 lines that you need to cut into. You can use big scissors, you can use small scissors. The point is to cut those lines. Okay, so here we go. It's all cut and ready to go. Once you have your little slits ready to go, you're going to remove the other piece of backing. So go ahead and remove that. All right, so now you have this sticky part. There's this little crosswise fabric showing through. This is the sticky part, and you have your cutouts. Now, what you're going to do is take your metal buckle, and what I like to do is make sure that my crosswise is right on top of that. So now the buckle has an inside and an outside. The small one is the inside that presses the fabric down. I'm going to just take that and put it to the side. Now you have your larger piece, and again, match up the crossbar on your buckle with the crossbar opening. And I hope that you can see how perfectly that is. So now what you want to do is go ahead and just start pushing everything in and around, pressing everything in, and what you're going to do is just make sure that it's nice and even. I like to do the corners to make sure those corners get in there nice and good, and just press it in. You see how I'm pushing everything into the inside of that buckle? Just use your fingers, try to smooth it out. So now that I have everything in there, do you notice that there's still fabric there? But don't worry, you can fix that. It still needs to be turned in. So what I do, I'll tell you what I do. The bar is going to be covered by your fabric anyway. So just go ahead and get a small pair of scissors and just go ahead and make some more slits. The pre-cut slits for that wasn't there, so don't get nervous. You're just going to make your own slits. And you're just going to just turn everything in. Turn it all in. Make sure it sticks down. All right, so there you have it. And the next thing to do is to take your smaller piece and then just push it in. Just like that. Make sure it's in nice and snug, and there you have it, a covered belt buckle. Okay, so next you have what is called a tongue. That's what they call it. So this is going to go into your buckle like that, but you're going to need to do something first. Before you put that on, take a pair of pliers. It could be a needle nose pliers, a small pair of pliers like this. Just crimp, and it tells you that on the instructions, just crimp that bar closed. Okay, there you go. It's not going to fall out. Then you're going to take your little tongue. You're going to make sure that it's on the outside like that. Okay. So the last thing to do is to grab your pliers. It could be a pair of needle nose pliers. And what you need to do is close that tongue so it won't fall out. there you have the first part of our belt. So the next thing to do is to do our belt backing. This is the belt backing. It's really easy to do. You can make your own belt backing depending on what you want to do. You can buy a belt backing like this, or you can use fabric and a heavyweight interfacing and create your own belt backing. But this one is already done for me, easy peasy, 1, 2, 3. So it comes with 6 eyelets. So it comes with eyelets for my belt. So I am going to need to have some tools. So I have a hole puncher and I have an awl. Either one will work fine. Also, I'm going to dye my belt backing. I do not like the white. It will not go well on the wrong side of my belt. So if you look, I don't want the belt to be white on the other side. So what am I going to do? I'm going to dye it with RIT. All right, so this is the RIT. This is the Racing Red, and it's for synthetic fabrics. The reason why I chose that is because the backing has this shiny backing synthetic, although the covered part, the white part, is the part that will be dyed, that I'm interested in dyeing the most. So I'm going to follow the instructions on the back of the RIT and dye my backing. Now all you need is boiling water and some dish detergent according to the package. Dye your belt, let it dry, and then wait until it's ready. And then we're going to put it on our belt. Okay, so here we have our backing that we're going to use for the belt. I cut my tip. So with wrong sides facing up, this is a 2-inch strip. When we fold it, it's going to be a 1/2 of an inch on the bottom, like that, and a 1/2 of an inch on the top, like that. So we're either going to do it like this, right? And then take the other part and press it down, right? You see how that's done? Or you can measure 1/2 an inch and 1/2 an inch on one side and press it that way. In that case, let me get a gauge. So any type of gauge is fine. I like this one. I can easily do a 1/2 inch. It moves up and down this way, like that. You measure your 1/2 inch. The 1/2 inch marking is there, and so then that's 1/2 of an inch. So you would just put it onto your fabric so it won't go past the top like that, and then you just press your 1/2 inch and then press. And again, you can use starch if you'd like. Another way to do it, to make sure you have 1/2 an inch, is to baste your 1/2 inch and fold it on the basting stitch. That's another way to do it, which is also a great way, and I'll show you. Alright, so I know where my 1/2 inch mark is on my plate, and so I would just, with a long stitch length, and my stitch length is 5, I would just make a 1/2 inch guide, and that way you could just easily pull that 1/2 inch thread right on out when you're done. Alright, so you see we have that guide, the thread. Very simple. We're going to fold up on the thread. You can use some starch to make sure it's nice and crisp. So you're just folding up on that thread Watch your fingers, don't let the steam burn your fingers. Here's my thread, and it's folded right along that thread. I think this is the easiest way for beginners because you have that guide, especially if you have fabric that's flimsy like this one. It's perfect because you don't, this one doesn't, it's flimsy because I'm not using any interfacing. Why? Because I'm using this really stiff backing. Look at the backing, it's stiff. So this is my backing, so I don't need interfacing for this fabric. Okay, so I'm done. It's folded in half both ways, and what I need to do now is just, I'm going to cut the fold to meet the tip, the sides of the point. So here and here. So let me just get a mark so I'll know. Just gonna mark it here, and on the same thing on the other side. I want you to notice that I left some room at the top. So I have this here. So I'm just going to cut. Alright, so I marked it with a line to where I'm going to stop on both sides. It should be even. So just cut down the fold. And the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going to fold this in, but before I do, I'm just going to clip this off. Okay, so it's clipped off. Here's my tip, and I'm just going to fold it in. Okay, and you can put a clip there, a binder clip to hold it, because since this is this backing is so much more thicker than regular fabric, you can just use a binder clip to hold it there. All right, so use a binder clip to hold it. That does well. And we're just going to do one part at a time. Okay, use a binder clip, and we're going to clip all the way down. All right, so I want you to see how I've used my clips to clip everything. You can see, I'm going to come a little closer, how my sewing is going to take me to this point here. This is where I'm going to pivot. I'm going to go up, then I'm going to fold this side in last, and then go back down. So I'm going to start sewing on the unclipped side. Okay. My binder clips are holding it very well, so I'm going to leave that little bit of fabric because I can use this little bit of fabric later to fold under and make it nice and neat. So I'm going to start at the edge of my backing, and I'm going to sew on the unclipped side all the way down, all the way to here, so I can pivot. Now I'll be able to take off my clips as I go to do the other side going back up. So here's my clipped side, and here's my unclipped side. So let's do a nice edge stitch. Okay everyone, so this is what my belt looks like so far. It came out nice and neat. I've put the backing on, and I used a edge stitch with a regular stitch length, and it came out really nice. So my edge stitch is really close to the edge, and it looks very nice and neat and professional. This is what my tip looks like. Okay. Now the next step is to prepare the other end of the belt and get it ready for our buckle. First, I'm going to trim this extra fabric down just a bit, and then I'm going to make a buttonhole right in the middle here. So I want to come down about an inch and make a buttonhole. But before I do that, I'm going to practice and make a mock buttonhole to make sure that I have the correct length for the buttonhole. It needs to be able to fit around the circle of my prong. So let me go ahead and grab some fabric, some extra fabric, and make a mock buttonhole and make sure that my prong fits through it first. And it's a good idea if you did the same. Now before I go ahead and make my buttonhole, I am going to finish the raw edge of my belt right here. I'm just going to finish the raw edge so that's nice and neat, and then I'm going to make my buttonhole. After you install the buckle with the prong through the buttonhole, you're going to sew this fabric down. This is another reason why we left the fabric. It will be really hard to sew 2 layers of backing. So we left this small piece of fabric, which makes it easy for you to sew. Okay, so I finished the raw edge of my belt and I created a nice size buttonhole. It's not too small, it's not too big. I'm going to use my seam ripper to open it. Now the point is to make sure that the round end of your prong fits through there because you need that for movement. If my hole was too small, my prong would be constricted. If my hole was too wide, then my prong would wobble. So make sure you practice to get the right size buttonhole. Now let's work on the other end of our belt. We're going to need some tools to install our eyelet holes. So first we're going to need a hole puncher or an awl, either one will work. And we are also going to need to use our eyelet tool. What it does is it secures the eyelets nice and tight. All right. And I also use this handy expanding sewing gauge by Simflex. I'll put the link in the description below. It is a perfect tool for making sure your eyelet holes are spaced out exactly the same. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and install our eyelet holes. And I am using a mocked up belt. It's sort of a sample. I use it to make sure that I have everything right. Everything is in the right place because my end result is going to be the belt for my customer and I want it to be perfect. So I do all of my practice work and my mocking on this belt first, and then I apply it to my belt that I'm going to add to my dress. All right. So with that said, the next step is either to make our holes with either the awl or the hole puncher that I'm using here. Okay, so we have our holes, and hopefully you use the gauge to make sure all of your holes are spaced out evenly. Next, add the eyelets to the holes and make sure that you have the front facing front and the back on the back. Refer to the directions if you need to. And then you're going to use the tool to install the eyelet. All you have to do is make sure that this prong is in the hole in the front, and then for the back, make sure that it's nicely snug on the round groove and press, and you're all set. Keep doing that until all of the eyelets are installed. And here we have it, our beautiful covered buckle belt. As you can see, all the eyelets are spaced out properly, and it's ready to go. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe and come back for more instructional videos that will help you make a better dress, skirt, or outfit for all the occasions that you want to cherish.